Salutations, people of the internet. Welcome to the database. Last time I talked about something related to Australia, I talked about a blue healer and her many adventures in Queensland. You might know it as Bluey, but did you know there's another Australian mascot that is well known way before Bluey? I mean, it's an excuse for me to talk about Crash Bandicoot. Released in 1996 exclusively on the PlayStation 1, Crash Bandicoot served as the main rival for Super Mario throughout the mid to late 90s. Developed by Naughty Dog, who you may know them for the Jak and Daxter, Uncharted, and The Last of Us. They were in charge of the Crash Bandicoot franchise until 1999, which is after the release of Crash Team Racing, wherein they simply lost the rights to Universal Studios. The game serves as a side-scrolling 3D platformer where Crash moves around corridor-like spaces, sometimes in 3D, sometimes it's a literal side-scroller in a 2D perspective. Its project name is known as Sonic's Ass Game, where you basically play a majority of the game looking at Crash's butt cheeks. And the most popular platformer mascot of the 90s was Sonic the Hedgehog. My quota for everything being connected is complete. Seeing as this being the first Crash Bandicoot game in a series, would I recommend it to those who are planning to get into the world of the wacky marsupial? No, not really. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's take a look at Mario's second video game rival of the 90s, the first ever Crash Bandicoot. And as a heads up, seeing as I don't have a PS1 of my own, I'll be capturing footage through the Sane Trilogy, and I'll go over some differences between this and the PS1 original, if possible. We see our titular Australian marsupial within the Wampa Islands, named after the main collectibles of the series. Well, actually, we see Crash being experimented on by the main villain of the series, Dr. Neo Cortex, who, with the assistance of Embryo, experiments with a series of genetically enhanced animals to take over the world. Crash, however, manages to escape Cortex's clutches and lands on Insanity Beach, the first stage of the game. Meanwhile, Cortex decides to start his enhancement experiment on Crash's supposed girlfriend Tana, and it's up to Crash to save Tana from Cortex and stop his evil plans of world domination, while also collecting gems along the way. Why gems? Well, this game actually has two different endings depending on the completion status of the game. If you play the game normally, you encounter your final fight against the evil doctor and you rescue Tana in probably a happy ending as a standalone game, if it didn't have any sequels. Which, obviously it did, but... However, if you manage to 100% complete the game and gather all the box gems up to the final platforming stage of the game, the lab, you get to go to this penultimate stage, the Great Hall, and use all the gems you collected to rescue Tana without having to face Cortex. Which is the best ending? How should I know? You still rescue her regardless. How do you get all these gems? Let's talk about that. In Crash Bandicoot, you go to a series of stages breaking boxes in order to get the real main collectible for 100%, the clear box gems. In the original PlayStation 1 game, you don't have a tally that shows you how many boxes are in each stage. So your best bet is to break as much as you can see and find out how much you miss at the end of the stage. Luckily, this isn't an issue in the Insane Trilogy as you actually have a tally here. There are also some select stages where you collect color gems, and these gems open up unique pathways that allow you to break more boxes to get that box gem. So if you do spot these pathways during your playthrough, you're not guaranteed to get the box gem on your first time. So that means you need to wait until you reach the particular stage that grants you the color gem you need to get the box gem. How do you get the box gems and color gems in the game? Well, that's easy. Break all the boxes, check every nook and cranny for said boxes, and the most important one of all, especially if you're going for the color gems on both the original PS1 and Sane Trilogy, don't die. And I say this only for the color gems, because for the clear box gems, especially in the Insane Trilogy, you can still die and still get the box gem. Color gems? Yeah, good luck. I regretted playing the PlayStation 1 version of Crash Bandicoot when learning the layout of the stage on the PS Vita, because I lost track on the amount of times I had to put the game down and call it quits, because I died and had to start the stage all over again from the beginning, just to get one box gem. Thankfully, in something like the modern Insane Trilogy, when you die, you still get the box gem, because your box tally is saved at each checkpoint. But that doesn't mean shit for the color gem stages. Thankfully, when I get to Crash Bandicoot 2, I don't have to worry about this. But as a series' first game, Jesus. Well, that wasn't a good start. How does Crash control at least? Maybe that would contribute as to why I hate collecting the box gems in the first place. And yeah, it does. Crash feels so heavy, which I guess makes specific type platforming tolerable, seeing as you can't rush these stages. But it's a nightmare when it comes to seeing a row of boxes and then I end up falling and have to start over again. All he could do in his first game were 3 things: running, jumping, and spinning. If you've seen my review on Super Mario Galaxy, you know I compared Mario's spin to Crash Bandicoot's. Well, Crash did it first here, as you can use his spin to defeat enemies and break boxes. Speaking of boxes, there are different types of boxes you can find in each stage of the game. There's the basic boxes that give you 1 Wumpa fruit. Collecting 100 fruits rewards you with an extra life. There's the boxes with question marks that either give you multiple Wumpa fruits, or tokens of Tana, Cortex, or Embryo that grant you with more boxes, fruits, and extra lives. Boxes that you can bounce on multiple times for more fruits. Checkpoints that let you respawn in the middle of the stage, which means jack shit for the box gems in the PS1 original, or just the color gems in the Insane version. And max boxes, where you can earn extra hit points and invincibility with the help of Aku Aku. Speaking of those tokens, let's talk about Tana and Cortex ones specifically, because collecting all the Embryo ones don't do anything, unless you're playing for the Insane Trilogy for the box tally count. For Tana bonus stages, this is how you save the game. I'm not kidding. Unless you somehow grab a box gem that also saves your progress, you need to beat this stage to save your game. At least the Insane Trilogy has autosaves. And if you don't have a PS1 memory card, have fun writing down these long ass passwords on a piece of paper or take a picture of it, cause it's so long to remember. As for the Cortex bonus stages, these reward you with keys that unlock 2 hidden stages of the game. Harder versions of the stage that like these on-rail hog riding stages. And a stage where you have to get the box gem in the dark. Christ, I need a break from the game. How about we look some commercials? So yeah, as mentioned earlier, Crash Bandicoot served as the main rival for Super Mario in the 90s, along with Sonic the Hedgehog. And while Sonic took shots at Mario by showcasing Sonic's fast speed processing in the Genesis, Crash decides to go to Nintendo headquarters and talk trash to him.
Hey, plumber boy, mustache man, your worst nightmare has arrived. Pack up your stuff!
I wouldn't say their rivalry is as strong as prominent as the 16-bit wars, mostly because PlayStation was a 32-bit system while the N64 does 64-bit graphics. But it did help establish the Sony PlayStation as a potential rival for Nintendo in the video game market. Crash Bandicoot, along with other video game titles synonymous with the PlayStation 1, helped set their place at the table in the gaming industry. And I really do miss these commercials that are as creative as this. It's a dude wearing a Cash Banuka costume, messing around with everyone he comes around with. I miss commercials that are this level of creative. Nowadays, you don't get commercials like that anymore. Modern commercials now are more towards relatability and living life. Most of the time, they don't advertise a game they're promoting, and if they do, it's just gameplay recordings plastered over a narrator. That's not fun. It's safe and samey. But to not get a headache from more commercials, I'll save them for another video. Now I feel a bit refreshed, ready to take on the Orange Bandicoot. But for now, I want to wrap this up so that I can gush over Crash 2 and 3. My final grade for Crash Bandicoot on the PS1 is a C rank, with the insane version being a B rank. For the franchise's first impression back in 1996, this feels very primitive, and a pain in the ass to record footage for, when proving that I 100% completed the game. Getting the box gems without dying in all 27 stages can get very exhausting, and it didn't help that the process of saving is tied to Tana and not giving the players a chance to save whenever. Even when those issues are fixed in the Insane Trilogy, it's still a pain in the ass to get the color box gems. Which I guess is the reason why this game gives players two different endings, one where you can rescue Tana without facing Cortex, and the canonical ending where Crash beats Cortex and saves Tana. It makes the gems feel kinda optional, and as needed that is, saving Tana without facing Cortex is not worth 100% beating the game, because that ending feels anticlimactic at worst, and it makes no sense when going into Crash 2 a year later. Sure, if you play this normally and not get all the boxes and get the box gem in each stage, this game lasts over 3 to 4 hours, and for a simple pick up and play 3D platformer, it's fine enough. But you're missing a lot of what the game has to offer if you don't get all the gems. The bosses aren't that complex, but too simple to overcome as well. Except for the climactic fight against Neo Cortex, all the boss patterns are way too easy to read and feel a bit boring after getting one hidden. Overall, Crash Bandicoot is no doubt a gaming franchise that impacted the lives of many throughout the late 90s. And as an early 2000s kid who never grew up with the marsupial, I'm glad I get to witness this wacky Bandicoot later than never. But in my eyes, Crash Bandicoot 2 and 3 did the Crash platforming formula way better than the very first game can ever do. So what do you think of Crash Bandicoot on the PlayStation 1 and the Insane Trilogy? Did you manage to collect all the box gems? How's your mental sanity after beating the game? Let me know in the comments. Thumbs up the video if you like it, subscribe to the database, and follow me on social media as seen above and in the description below. I'm Christopher James, and I'll see you next time. And no, I'm not going over the time relics and Crash 1 because I am so tired.
Hey, plumber boy, mustache man, your worst nightmare has arrived. Pack up your stuff. I got a little surprise for you here. Check it out. What do you think about that? We got real-time, 3D, lush organic environments. How's that make you feel, buddy? Feel a little like your days are numbered?
I'm gonna have to ask you to leave.
You're hurting my elbow.
Is that Italian?
No, Ben.